welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel, guys. Starting today, it is all about El Clásico. Barça travel to Real Madrid under the leadership of Xavi Hernandez, and coming up in today's video we are going to be taking a very close look at both teams. Real Madrid coming to this game as the league leaders. They do have though a number of injury concerns. We're going to be talking about the possible lineups, all of the tactics coming into this game, and what exactly Xavi needs to do to beat Real Madrid, to go to the Bernabeu and send out a message. It is all going to be coming your way. This is a big one. So let's get to it. And if we first of all do kick off by talking about the hosts Real Madrid, and especially some of the very big decisions that Carlo Ancelotti is going to have to make coming into this game, because indeed on Monday night Real Madrid were very impressive, very solid and dominant in their win over Mallorca, which of course extended their lead at the top of the league. But that win did come at a price, with a number of injury concerns now coming into this game, and Ancelotti will be having a few headaches in his selection because, of course, as we know, it's going to be Thibaut Courtois in goal, and I do have to say, I think Courtois this season has been sensational. There's no other word for it. Some of the saves that he's pulling off time after time when the pressure is on him, he has been absolutely outstanding. At centre-back, it's going to be David Alaba partnering Militao, who've been a very solid combination this season, and at right back most likely Dani Carvajal, although Lucas Vázquez has appeared quite frequently in that area this season. In midfield, of course, it is going to be the favoured trio of Carlo Ancelotti. If he can possibly avoid it, he will never break up this midfield. He will always play Casemiro, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. And then up front, the one position that we can guarantee is Vinicius Jr., who has been much improved for Real Madrid this season, starting from the left-hand side. But as you can see, there are a number of areas there in that team where there are question marks. Certainly at left back, there's a big problem for Ancelotti because Ferland Mendy, he is not going to be playing in this game, and that is a big loss for Real Madrid. But it's up front where the big concern comes for Ancelotti, because although Benzema followed up his Champions League hat-trick with 2 more goals in that Monday game against Mallorca, he was at the end of it forced off with an injury problem. Since that game, he has not trained with Real Madrid. He is a major doubt to play in El Clásico, and especially given Real Madrid are not really willing to take any unnecessary risks ahead of the Champions League, which puts Benzema almost certainly out. And I do think here, if we just start by illustrating what losing this man right here, Karim Benzema, could actually mean for Real Madrid. Because yes, as a team, they've set themselves up very strongly. This is how their strongest lineup would probably look. And I just think Benzema, he's crucial to all of that. Because yes, you can say, he gets into these kinds of areas, he's scoring goals, he's a fantastic centre-forward player. They're going to miss those goals. But for me, it's not just about those goals. If Benzema doesn't play in this game for Real Madrid, they lose so much of their attacking quality and their overall attacking play, because Benzema is not just your forward who's operating in these areas. He is somebody here who's happy to drop in. He's happy there to go and receive the ball in deep positions. He's happy for other players to go beyond him. Even midfielders here, he brings them. He actually brings the midfield into the game by dropping in the way that he can play with the ball. And I just think by losing Benzema, all of that build up here, all of Real Madrid's structure in the attacking half of the field, it's all going to be disorganised. It's all going to be lost almost without the impact of Karim Benzema. And I don't think either that it's just about him, because I also think here Ferland Mendy, he is a massive loss as well to this Real Madrid team on this left-hand side. And again, it's not just about him, because as a left-back here, what he brings to that role, he's extremely solid defensively. He is the more defence-minded fullback there on the left-hand side. But I think actually him being so good, so dominant in that left-back area, at times it also helps Vinicius to have a bit of freedom, because I feel as though Vinicius doesn't feel like he needs to always be looking over his shoulder, tracking back, helping out Ferland Mendy. He's so good, he's so defensively solid in that zone that actually with him out there, Vinicius can be a lot more expressive. He can leave himself forward at times, because what Real Madrid, what we're going to come on to talk about, they're always looking to go on that counter, and I think there, with removing Ferland Mendy, that is also going to have a knock-on effect on Vinicius, as is of course losing Benzema Barca, given their combination this season. So that's certainly going to hit Real Madrid hard with those possible absentees. But of course, let's not forget Barca. Let's not forget here that Barca's win over Galatasaray in midweek, again, that was a very, very good result for us. But that also came at a price, because it is, of course, going to be Ter Stegen in goal. We're going to have Alba, and I'm sure Araujo is going to return at centre-back for this game. But alongside him, Piqué is a doubt, given the injury there that he picked up or continued carrying into that Galatasaray game. So there are doubts about him, although I would still lean towards Piqué being ready and forcing himself to play in this game. If he doesn't, Eric Garcia is available for selection. And then at right back, I think that's a big, big loss there to lose Serginho Dest. Dani Alves, of course, is capable of coming in. He's going to bring all of that experience with him. Busquets in midfield, De Jong, Pedri will make up that trio. And then, of course, it's all about that front three. Is it going to be a natural front three from Xavi? Which members is he going to choose in that area? And I just want to highlight again what we need to see from that attacking trio. Because, in my opinion, Xavi there simply must line up with a forward line of Ferran Torres, of Aubameyang and of Ousmane Dembele. I think we've seen over the past few weeks there, we've got a lot of forward options. We know all about that. But I think this one, it brings the most to a game. This gives you so many different options all in one. And I think for this game, especially there when we've mentioned Ferland Mendy being out at left back, that's the first port of call, because what you want to do there is completely isolate and target Real Madrid's left side, because if that is going to be Nacho most likely, even if it is going to be Marcelo, it doesn't matter. What you want to do there is get Dembele right up against that Real Madrid left back. You want to put as much pressure as possible on that area, because then what happens is, I guarantee you, Real Madrid will need to bring another man across. They will need to double up on Ousmane Dembele, because we've seen it this season with Adama Traore, where teams have actually put several members on him to try and shut him down and stop the threat. And I'm sure that Real Madrid will look to do that. Will it be Alaba who's going across there to support Nacho or the left back, whoever it may be, or possibly it would be Casemiro? Now, if it's Alaba who's really going to have to try and cover there, then that completely opens up Aubameyang and then Ferran Torres. And that is why I think playing both of those is so important. Because if Real Madrid are having here to focus a lot of attention on the wider areas, especially as well if Dani Alves is joining in, trying to get that overlap going there, you know about the kind of energy that he brings to a game. If Real Madrid are having to focus on those areas, we don't just want here one player looking to get in behind, looking to exploit the gaps in Real Madrid's centre-back partnership, but we actually want another player, which is an entirely different proposition there when you're trying to cover Aubameyang, and then you've also got the runs of Ferran Torres, and we know that he can find the spaces, he knows where to be at the right time. So it's so important to have both of those players, but it could as well go the other way too, because maybe it won't be Alaba here who's looking to cover. Maybe they may actually send Casemiro out there, and that's even more interesting, because then if actually you're sacrificing Casemiro, if he's being forced into wide areas, then that allows Barca to fully take control in this midfield, and that's a really important area of the field, I think, because Real Madrid's midfield here of Casemiro, Kroos and Modric, they are so impressive with the ball, but I think as soon as you take it away from them, they don't feel so comfortable. You look at them there, I feel, in the first leg against PSG, they are not the same when they're having to chase around, when they're having to really be out of possession and work hard and all of that kind of stuff. And I think if we can gain control here in this midfield, Busquets has been so much better recently. Pedri has been majestic in midfield. De Jong as well, he can also add those forward runs. If we can take control fully of the middle of the park, we can really allow ourselves to get on top in this game and start to play in the way that we like. But, and this is the really important thing here to bear in mind coming into this game, if we are indeed on top in the game, if we are starting to dominate Real Madrid, we saw it at times in the Supercopa back in January there, when we were actually really starting to territorially pin them back in their own half, we still got to be careful. Because as much as we can have the ball in these areas, and Real Madrid may not feel entirely comfortable with that, when they are comfortable is when you give the ball away. And we saw it also earlier at the Camp Nou, when actually it was in this position here where Memphis just had a loose touch. Now against Galatasaray, for me, Aubameyang on the ball, he wasn't as good as he has been recently. There were a few times where he's letting the ball get away from him, bounce away, the first touch wasn't quite there. That cannot happen in El Clásico, because as much as we want to get on top in the game, dominate Real Madrid, that'll all be good and well, but if we start giving away loose possession, if we start actually there committing men forward, and certainly they're looking at the fullbacks, and suddenly then Real Madrid turn over the ball, then they love that. That's a situation there whereby they're not enjoying it, they're not on the ball, they're not having fun. As soon as they get it back, they will hurt you. They will hit you very hard and very quickly because they are so good at getting the ball from here to here within seconds. And especially if Barca here are pushing forward Dani Alves, are pushing forward Jordi Alba. Of course, we've got the pace of Araujo. That'll be a much needed thing. I think that is why he simply has to play in this game. You've got Piqué here as well, but we cannot overcommit. We can't overforce this game. We've got to be patient in our play. We've got to be careful. We don't want to give away loose possession, because if Real Madrid recover that ball, they have the midfield, they have the quality to get the ball into the wider areas. Vinicius, we know him behind, can cause any team problems. And that's what Real Madrid will wait to do, especially without Benzema. They will rely on a counter-attacking game to hurt us when we make mistakes. And I really do think, guys, that in the end, when it all comes down to it, when these two teams are facing off against each other side by side, looking at what we've got to witness on Sunday, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a really, really intense battle here. I think certainly the midfield battle, that's going to be crucial, because those are two fantastic midfields. I think very different. I do think they're very different kind of players in those midfield, but I think certainly it's going to be interesting to see who can gain that control. If it's Barca, we've got to be careful. We've got to be calculated. Real Madrid are strong here in the centre of defence, but if you do start to drag them out, if you do start to make them a bit uncomfortable, we've got to have lots of movement. That's what we have to see here. We've got to see Ferran making runs. We've got to see Dembele stretching Real Madrid whenever possible. And most importantly as well, the fullbacks here. They have to do not only a good job going forward, but they've got to be clever. They've got to choose their moments to go forward. We can't leave ourselves too exposed at the back, and that's going to be so important there. And the instructions from Xavi and the way that he sets his team up is going to be so important to how we go about this game. But what do you think, guys? What are you expecting heading to the Bernabeu under the leadership now of Xavi? Somebody who can come in and actually can make a tactical plan, can go out there with a clear idea, with a clear understanding of what he needs to do to beat Real Madrid in their own stadium in a big game like this. Please do let me know what you are expecting in El Clásico. What sort of team would you line up with on the side of Barcelona? What kind of opposition are you expecting when it comes to Real Madrid? Please do let me know all of those pre-match thoughts down below. And of course, guys, there's still plenty of time and plenty more coming before this massive game. I will see you soon with plenty more videos. Thank you for your incredible support and for getting involved here today. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.